Hello and welcome to the Valley. Today I am your host, Janet Michael. It is Tourism Tuesday, Winchester-Frederick County edition. I'm sitting at the Winchester-Frederick County Convention and Visitors Bureau. I always try to get that in its entirety at least once an episode. But I'm not sitting here with Justin Kearns. Lord only knows where he's off traveling to. Renee is here with me today.
Hi, Janet. Yes, this is my once a year, I think, appearance.
Your pilgrimage to the Valley today. I'm just glad that after the first time you continue to come back.
Yeah.
Because I know this isn't your favorite thing to do.
It's not my favorite.
You would sit and talk to me for an hour without any issues at all. It's the whole radio thing that makes you a little uncomfortable.
But you make it fun. You make it fun, Janet. You make it fun for everybody.
And this is your event, so Justin probably wouldn't do it justice. Let's be honest.
Right, yeah. He's not involved as much on this event. This is something that came from actually the Newtown History Center for an idea. He brought it to me, and I thought it sounded like a great idea to start this new event that really ties together food and history in a new way to get people interested in history that might not typically be the type of people that are really big history buffs. And this is our third year doing the event, and we do it with locations in Winchester, Frederick County, and Clarke County too. We have, I think, over 15 different sites, and then also some breweries and some restaurants that participate too.
And that makes it good because whether you are someone who's only interested in the history or you have a family and you want your kids to know a little bit about what happened where in and around our area, you've got enough things going on from when it starts on Saturday the 23rd of August through the 1st of September that people can just pick and choose what's appropriate for them or what they really want to gather some friends and go to.
Right. We have some of the events that are geared towards kids or have kids components, and we have other things that they're going to have food. So we've tried in some events that are free of charge, some that have an admission fee. You can look at the program and decide what works for you and check out whichever ones you want to go to.
Where can I get a program? Are they on your website? Are they physically printed somewhere?
They are both. So we have the programs on our website. You can go to our homepage, visit winchesterva.com, and then there's a link to Hungry for History with the program. And then you can also pick up paper copies here at the Visitor Center or any of our different historic sites and museums that are participating in the event as well.
So if you go on the website and see the whole thing and you live near Newtown History Center, you can just pop in there to pick up a printed copy versus coming into Winchester. Exactly. That's convenient.
Yes.
And then some of the events are one day only throughout this span of time. Other events are the entire time. Right. Some are 1 or 2 days. You've got 3 in particular that are all day for the most part that are only happening on Saturday, August 23rd.
Right. We have some events that just happen for one day, like Belle Grove works the Hungry for History event into their wine festival. So if you're going to that, they're going to have chef demonstrations. And then we also have a handful of events that are in Clarke County. They're going to have the Slave Dwelling Project there, talking about the everyday life of the enslaved people in Clarke County and the kinds of foods that they made. Also, another event that happened last year as well that was pretty popular, that's like an all-day thing, is the Patsy Cline Block Party. So they serve some of the soda drinks that Patsy Cline served when she was a soda jerk, so you can taste different kinds of sodas.
People don't realize that they really do taste differently than the sodas that we're drinking today.
Oh, I guess you're right, yeah.
People are like, oh yeah, so it's a Coke. No, it's not really a Coke. Yeah. Coke then isn't Coke now. And that's one of those really cool things that you wouldn't necessarily associate with history, but it really is. And that's the whole point of Hungry for History is those nuggets.
More modern than other history. So we cover far back. We have Native American history at the Discovery Museum and their displays, and then all the way up to the 50s and 60s with the Patsy Cline House.
So joining us for our conversation today is Brian Daly. Brian is with Stonewall Jackson's headquarters. You guys are doing some things around the Hungry for History event. Yours is kicking off on Sunday, August 24th. Brian, tell me a little bit about what you're doing.
Yeah, one of our docents will be giving a talk. It's entitled, What's in Your Haversack? the Rations that Saved Winchester. It's going to be geared to the 1862 campaign, the first Battle of Winchester. There were 3 major battles of Winchester, but that's the most important. That was the one Stonewall Jackson was himself commanding. It's going to be interesting. It's going to talk about the foodstuffs that the Confederate soldiers would have had. Last year we did a talk on what the civilians would have been eating. This year we decided to go after the military. We're partnering with Need Bread. They're going to be doing some what we call hand pies. Get a little commercial in for them. And we'll cut them into small pieces. Everyone's not going to get a full hand pie, but this is something that particularly the women in town would have made. If you've got soldiers traveling through town, whether on horseback or by foot, they're not going to want a pie that they need to sit down, cut into pieces and eat. They would rather have something that you and I would probably call a turnover today, but in those days they called them hand pies. It fit in the palm of your hand. It was easy to eat. And of course in this area would be perhaps apples mainly. So it's a pretty good event. We're going to offer it twice. It is free. No need to tour the entire museum. And we do have it on Sunday the 24th and then on Monday 9/1 because school is back in session in both Clarke County, Winchester, and Frederick County. And we are concerned about getting kids there because primarily one of the goals of Jackson's and the Historical Society is to have more children visit museums and learn about the local history. And Winchester is nothing if not a center for Civil War studies. It's one of the few towns that can actually say it was the most fought over town in the entire Shenandoah Valley, or in actually America during the Civil War. As you perhaps know, it changed hands 72 times. And that's an awful lot.
That's a lot.
Yeah, and kids are fascinated by this. I know we have a huge homeschool group coming in next week, thanks to my friend who gave me a contact, Richard. And they're looking forward to it. We planned a specific talk. But the Hungry for History, we've talked about food in Winchester and Stonewall Jackson's headquarters in particular. This year I'm interested in it. Anthony is one of our docents, is a Warren County teacher, elementary school teacher, and he is going to be giving the talk. He's really geared up for it already.
I think it's fascinating how you can pull kids in to learn about these things without them thinking, ugh, I have to sit through a history lecture. I think having places like your venue, like Stonewall Jackson's headquarters, and Rick's going to talk here in a second about Newtown History Center, but having those locations for them to be able to walk through and then hear those stories makes so much more of an impact.
Oh, yeah. And we bring the kids in, and I'm hoping we have a lot of kids for this event, but even the parents and grandparents will get a kick out of it and stuff, because a lot of people, unfortunately, live in the area. They may have been here all their life, or like me and Newbie, only 18 years under my belt in Winchester, but there's still an awful lot of history in town, from the Revolutionary War and, of course, the French and Indian War, right up to the Civil War. And it's great because a lot of times kids, they're not aware of it. Oh yeah, George Washington's headquarters, I know who he is, but he lived there for a few months. He walked the streets that you're walking. I'm from New Jersey, so of course we have numerous places where Washington stayed in and slept in. This is pretty interesting because this is historically verified that we know Jackson was here for so many months, and we know other people during the Civil War. Personages, Daniel Morgan from the Revolutionary War. They may be going to that school. Do they know who he was?
And don't even know why it's named after him or what it was, where his place in history actually was.
Sure. And it's pretty interesting. We gave it a talk on Jackson's eating habits. He's a very eclectic individual. We won't go into that now. Last year we talked about what the civilians were eating and cooking and everything else, but this year we went after the soldiers because they're the backbone, of course, of the first Battle of Winchester.
And there are things that people will learn. Like, I would assume, what do you mean they didn't just pack their lunches? Thinking in today's modern times. So they didn't just pack a bag and take them with them. They depended on these women in these various towns that they were traveling through to actually prepare and feed them.
Oh, absolutely. And it comes to light when you're giving a tour and you have some children, and they're well-meaning, but kids talk right off the top of their head. And we were showing you the other day, we were actually demonstrating a 1851 waffle maker. And at one point the fellow said, oh, that looks like just the one in a hotel. There's that beat too when you have to turn the waffle over. And of course we realized that there was no electricity at that time. You almost want to chuckle, but you don't want to, you want them to ask questions. And so it's a learning experience. When they talk about why did you have to make hundreds of candles? Because the war is coming and this house is lit with gas lighting, but what happens if the gas doesn't get delivered? Why wouldn't it get delivered? War is coming. We've never had war in Winchester when we've had gas lighting. So it's always a learning experience. It's great working for a museum. And Winchester, we are #1 rated visitor attraction in Winchester, just showing Renee that on TripAdvisor. So that's a pretty big deal because if you know where Jackson's is, we're like out of the Old Town area. People find us, and we have 46 states so far, and we only opened up in April this year, and we have 7 foreign countries already.
Wow.
So we're proud of that. If I sound like I'm bragging, I am.
It sounds like you have a right to.
So, yeah.
Renee, there are going to be events like what Brian was just talking about that are going to be a lecture, a talk, but the event space is actually going to be open too. Some of them are only happening once or twice, but some are on a regular schedule then throughout this entire time period.
Right. One event I want to talk about we're having is the one at the Visitors Center. I'm on the committee for the VA 250th.
Shocking.
The American Revolution. So we're having a themed event here. It's like an open house, Tea with Martha Washington. It's just going to be a casual thing, not a fancy tea party because it's an open house, it's free. We want to have kids be able to come. But she's going to talk to us about what it was like in that era, entertaining, and how you were to behave and act at a tea party. And then we'll have some teas that you can taste that were thrown over in the Boston Harbor during the Boston Tea Party.
That sounds really cool. And kids really absorb more when they're immersed in an activity. So being able to, like you said with the waffle maker, and they see it and they see how it works, it sticks in their brains a little bit more. Same concept when you have them sitting around a table and understanding how a tea party actually works, not probably how they did as they were toddlers growing up.
Yeah, hands-on learning is the best kind of learning, I think.
Do people need to register for your event in particular?
No, ours is just an open house where you can drop in anytime. It's going to be on August 24th, Sunday from 2 to 4 p.m. and you can just drop in. But some of the events do have admission. There are a few that are selling tickets, so you might want to check to see which one you're attending to see whether you need to reserve in advance.
And in this program, you've done a really good job of designating what may have a fee associated with it, what's kid-friendly. It's a really easy chart to go through and look and see, so you can go, okay, we shouldn't take the kids to this, or hey, we need to budget for these types of things. So I think that's easy too, so people don't get there and then realize, oh no, I didn't think about having to pay for the 2 kids I have and the 3 kids that they brought with them. So I think that's fantastic. Let's take a break. When we come back, we'll switch over to Rick, who's going to tell us what Newtown History Center is doing. And then, Rick, I understand you're also involved in an event that LaGrange is planning as well. So will you give us details for that in the next segment?
Yes, I will.
Okay, we're going to do all of that when we come back. It is Tourism Tuesday, Winchester-Frederick County edition. We are sitting at the Visitor Center today chatting with Renee. We are talking about the Hungry for History event. It kicks off on Saturday, August 23rd and runs through Monday, September 1st. We'll continue that conversation when we come back in just a couple of minutes. What if one day could deliver real results for your brand and your community? On September 19th, United Way of Northern Shenandoah Valley will mobilize over 900 volunteers across 6 counties for Day of Caring, the region's largest single-day volunteer event. This is your company's chance to step up. Sponsor Day of Caring and help cover vital project costs for local nonprofits, from painting and landscaping to repairs and more. You'll be recognized on volunteer shirts, signage, and media. Plus, it's a powerful team-building opportunity for your employees. Your sponsorship isn't just a donation, it's an investment in the infrastructure of care that holds this region together. Visit unitedwaynsv.org/Day of Caring or contact Day of Caring at unitedwaynsv.org. Lead with impact. Show your community what your brand stands for. Welcome back to the Valley today. I am your host, Janet Michael. We are celebrating Tourism Tuesday today, Winchester-Frederick County edition. I'm sitting at the Visitor Center with Renee Bayless. We're talking about the Hungry for History event, now in its 3rd year. Kicks off on Saturday, August 23rd, runs through Monday, September 1st. Brian Daly is with us from Stonewall Jackson headquarters. We heard a little bit about what they're going to be doing for this event. Sitting next to me as well is Rick Kriebel. He's with Newtown History Center, and everything that's happening in Stephen City isn't just happening at Newtown History Center for the event this year.
Oh, that's correct. So we do have one thing that takes place at our site at the museum. We have a program designed specifically for homeschoolers called Homeschool Hunters. And the idea is they go to our store exhibit, which shows things that were sold at that same store building from approximately the 1920s to the 1940s, a lot of Depression era materials. And they look for items that show how industrialization was changing food. And we break that down into little bits that are at a 4th grade level, and they get to scavenger hunt. It's been popular these last couple of years. They can actually stay engaged for an hour.
Oh,
Yeah. And that is in a hot building, although by the end of that hour they are a little droopy. So am I. That will be during the week from Monday the 25th to Friday the 29th. Basically just during the school week, they can call me, make an appointment, and we'll have things for them to take home as well. Thanks to Black Shutter Antiques, we've these past couple years had the ingredients for what's called an icebox fruit cake.
oh,
Think of a very, very sweet no bake.
I'm in.
But that's the one event happening on our property. Then on Sunday the 24th, we are working with LaGrange Family Farm for their tavern night. That'll be from 6:30 to 8:30 in the evening. And it's based off of the one account we have of someone who was actually at a tavern in Newtown. We know we had several back in the day, but we don't really have anyone saying, I stayed here and this is what it was like, except some religious pilgrims who said they stopped and they had cake and cider.
Oh.
So Two Moms and a Cupcake will be producing cakes according to a historic recipe, and Winchester Cider Works will be contributing cider. And we will just have a tavern night at the barn of LaGrange for this nice laid back fun, $15 a person. But then at the other end of the event, the end of the weekend, on Friday, August 29th, we'll be at Valerie Hill Winery. And from 7 to 8:30, we'll cover a history of the winery, because while the winery itself is fairly new, the building goes back to the early 1800s.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yes, we don't know the exact date. There is an expert on the history of all the buildings in the area, Morale Calvian, who rates it around 1805 to 1806. So we don't have an exact year, but believe me, Morale's as precise as you're going to get for anything. She is phenomenal at what she does with it. So I used a lot of her research. I then looked at some newspaper articles and got a little more about the history of the winery, about the history of the families who lived in that building. So I cover that in a presentation, and you can sit back and sip wine while you listen.
And see, I like those types of events too, because when we were talking with Brian earlier, we tend to think of teaching history to our children or to a younger audience. But when you referenced earlier, Brian, that there are people that have lived here their whole lives, I being one of them, I've never set foot inside Stonewall Jackson's headquarters. I've never been to George Washington's office. I've not ever done. I know Justin and I have talked about doing a separate podcast series where he actually makes me go to these places and I get a history lesson. But events when you can do them like that at wineries and do them in places like LaGrange really do encourage people to admit that maybe they don't know everything that they should and want to learn more.
I think part of it too is a lot of folks believe they don't like history because the way we mostly get it, no offense to teachers who have to do it this way, don't give them a choice, but you're sitting in a classroom facing a chalkboard or a PowerPoint getting a lecture. But the thing is, young kids need to be able to go around, be active, work with their hands. Even stereotypes about them playing video games aside, that's the way kids have always been.
Mm-hmm.
And that's where a lot of these children's programs give them an opportunity to, even if they can't touch anything, at least with Homeschool Hunters, they can roam about and they can look through the museum looking for something, they can be engaged. And adults love historic atmosphere. So Valerie Hill, otherwise known as the Rust House, that building is about 220 years old.
And LaGrange is, what, the second oldest building structure in Stevens City? Second to your building, I would assume.
It's a bit up in the air with some of the earliest ones, when exactly they were built, but yes. I mean, it was actually a bit of a joke in the museum field when I first got in about 10 years ago after grad school, that they finally found a way to reach millennials. Just give them alcohol and they come in droves.
They're not wrong.
But people like that. I mean, believe me, you don't want to really taste a historic beer in the sense of exactly how it would taste back then. We have been working on taste for 200 years, among many other things. But having that historic inspiration, looking at those old recipes and saying, how can we bring it to the present day, really does enrich things. And it really does help immerse us in history. So actually, part of how I got the idea for this was through a professional organization I'm involved in called the Association of Living History, Farm and Agricultural Museums, otherwise called ALFAM. They have an annual conference. It's always somewhere in the US or Canada. And that particular organization is very hands-on. It's very program-heavy. I mean, when you think of living history farm sites, you're thinking of Williamsburg, Old Sturbridge Village, a bunch of smaller places like that. The hands-on history is very present at these sites because it's farms. Food history is very present. and multiple places were just talking in session after session about how they were having a lot of success creating food-related events. So I thought, we should try that. And then what was really cool last year was I was attending Alfam, a virtual session last September, and one of the workshops was about working with local tourism site, and Hungry for History got mentioned there.
Nice.
So we're getting the word out there.
We were talking during the break about the Slave Dwelling Project coming and being a part of some of these events that weekend. That's a really big deal too.
They are known nationwide. So that's another paradigm shift that I've seen since I got out of grad school a decade ago, that folks were saying, well, what do we do with African American history? We don't get a lot of folks coming out to see it. And in that time, predominantly it's been African American historians. They pioneered that engagement. And the Slave Dwelling Project is one of them. This is a man who goes to different sites where there was slavery, and he sleeps where the slaves were. And that gets a lot of traction and attention. He now has 25,000 followers on Instagram. So when he's connected to this event and he's going to something either Belle Grove Plantation with their Inalienable Rights program, or now Clarke County as part of Hungry for History, that's really putting the word out there about our story in our region.
Mm-hmm. Nathan at Clarke County Historical Association does, and it has happened already by the time people are listening to this particular show, but he does his Colonial Kids Day. Yep. All these kids come out to the Burwell Morgan Mill and they get to see how a blacksmith would do their things. They get to see how things were made and what life was like back then. Those are the kinds of things that really do get kids engaged and want them to learn more about history, because history is important.
I was there. I was one of the museums that he invited to set up a table. They can make cornhusk dolls with the Virginia State Parks. Belle Grove Plantation had them writing letters and sealing it with a wax seal. They're using hot glue gun with wax rods in there, which is not what you had in the 1700s, but still...
Yeah, effect is the same.
Right, you get to see and smell what the wax is like when it's hot being pressed on there. That counts for a lot. I was portraying a wagon driver. We do not have the insurance to try and drag a wagon and horse over, but I had a lot of pictures of what that was like and a lot of pictures from taverns from back then. And funny enough, tying back to this, when I do the wagon driver interpretation, life on the road engages people less and gets less attention than going to the tavern at the end of the day.
Ah.
So talking about what would it have been like if you're in the early 1800s or in the 1700s and you stop at a tavern. How are you feeling after a standard day of travel is 10 hours on a dirt road?
And not a smooth ride either.
No air conditioning.
Funny you're both mentioning those bits. So if you're upper class, you're traveling in a carriage, which given how nasty it was last Saturday, I mentioned to folks, you'd hope the windows can open in that thing, otherwise you're baking in there. But I read a really funny account from a historian talking about, actually the book's title is Virginia by Stagecoach. And she said that the nickname for the seats on a stagecoach was spankers. So imagine like the top end of travel is 10 hours on a spanker. By the end, you probably want to sit down, but you probably want a cushion.
Right.
So you go to that tavern. You probably want a beer or wine at that point, even if you're not usually someone who drinks.
Oh, yeah.
That's what I try to get into with folks. And yeah, they love it.
And Renee, you're not leaving out people that are doing beer, wine, having food as well from this entire event. I know that Stephen has created the cider, the official cider for the 250th.
You knew that, right?
Of course I did, because he tells me every time I see him. Because he's very proud of it, as he should be.
The official cider of the VA 250 commemoration. It's a big deal.
He got a kick out of the fact that it was a British guy who was making this cider for, yes, it was a whole story that he told Justin and I actually way back before it was official that he was going to be doing it.
Uh-huh. Well, he's going to be, and the cider is called Stand Beside Her, but he's going to be doing a special talk at the Cider Works on August 28th at 5:30, and he's going to have tastings, and he's going to talk about the differences between some of the historic ciders and the modern ciders, and maybe how they tasted, and the importance of having cider back during the days of the American Revolution.
Winchester Brew Works is going to be doing their Millstone Lager. Nathan has talked about this on the show every opportunity that he gets. He's a beer guy, so he always loves to talk about beer. But the mill was part of the process of making this beer.
Barley there at the Burwell Morgan Mill, and then they make this beer with it, and it's going to be available during our event for you to stop in and try. We also have a couple of restaurants that are involved. Vault and Cellar, they're going to be having some dinner specials and also drink specials. They're historic and traditional. And then also Bonnie Blue is also going to be having a special menu. Both of those participated last year, so we're happy to have them back. And we invite you to come over there and try some of their restaurant specials.
So where can I find a list of all of this so that I can go through and say, I'm going to this, I'm going to that. I don't know that I want to go to this, but my husband will want to go to that. Where's the best place for me to go to start putting together my itinerary for this event?
Go to visit winchesterva.com. You'll see there's a little tile on our homepage, and it'll take you to Hungry for History. And from there, there's a list of everything, and there's also the program. You can download, print out it if you want to. You can stop in the visitor center or any of these other museums and pick up a program, a printed program, and we hope you're going to join us.
And Brian, I can come by Stonewall Jackson's headquarters and pick up a program there. What are your hours? When are you guys open?
We're open Monday through Saturday, 10 a.m. to 4 p.m., Sunday, 12 noon to 4 p.m.
And is that seasonal?
We are seasonal. We open up April 1st until October 31st.
Do you have an online presence? Is there a website, anything like that people can find you?
Yeah, Winchester-Frederick County Historical Society, and they made it easy. Their website is winchesterhistory.org, O-R-G.
That
And
is
all
easy.
the events should be up there. I'm going to check on that as soon as I leave here.
Luckily, we're recording about a week in advance, so you
Right.
got a week to get it fixed
Okay.
before people are listening on the
Right.
radio. And then, Rick, how can people learn more about Newtown History Center?
We do have a Facebook and Instagram. We also have our website, newtownhistorycenter.org. That is Newtown, a compound word, not Sir Isaac Newton. So you can go there and you can learn all about the town's history.
And do you have regular hours, or is most of your things by appointment or reservation?
We are always open by appointment for folks who want to come by appointment. If assuming it's not something like Christmas morning when the boss and I are both going to be with family. But this time of year, we are open Tuesday through Saturday from 10 to 4 and Sunday from 1 to 5.
Thank you, Brian, Rick, for taking some time to chat with Renee and I today. I appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you for having us.
Thank
And
you.
Renee, it's always good to see your face.
I know. I'm glad to be here.
And I will put links to everything that we've talked about today on the show notes page at thevalleytodaypodcast.com. And I will be back tomorrow with a brand new episode of The Valley Today, just a few minutes after noon. So meet me here then.